And we're right back live here in the studio of Viewpoint 96.3 here in Route 2250, Lazy Row. We kind of aborted our normal procedure to start this morning's program because our guest had to get in here and get out and get on the road.
Bill?
Yes, dear?
Why is it called Lazy Row?
Well, it's certainly not the farmers that live there. They're all pretty industrious, hard workers. That's been that way ever since. Now, Jim's a native boy here. He's an Atlanta citizen, and Lazy Row's in his territory.
It's your territory, Jim.
Yeah.
Why is it?
He's not. Well, I wish I could help you. Well, in any event, we usually always start Viewpoint with some kudos and so forth. Judith and I would like to, number one, let's go to Mount Pulaski again. Those folks got together over there and banded together and put together a very, very nice 9/11 ceremony over there. Well attended, very large, and again, it's a small community pulling together. And so kudos to them, Judith. Well, again, they do it, and I'm not certain at all. Okay, we have a we do have a caller. Okay, all right, hang on.
Gosh,
as we reach for the headphones, you got yours on, Mrs. Busby. Good morning, caller. Yes, good morning, caller.
How are you?
Yes, hey, good morning.
Good morning. This is Misty Bell with Volunteer for Rail Splitter.
Oh, hi.
Yes, good morning.
How are you?
Well, we're vertical, and at my age, that's a magnificent thing.
Yeah.
Judas is not quite that stage yet.
Okay.
Say,
how can we help you this morning? We want to hear about the Volunteers for Rail Splitters.
Well, we have a couple new things at Rail Splitter that we wanted to, let you know about.
Yeah,
okay.
Please.
The David Davis Mansion has brought us a nice new display to show off that 20 panels of Abraham Lincoln on the 8th Judicial Circuit that they're showcasing at Rail Splitter this weekend.
Oh, that will be so interesting. That you just kind of fell into that lately, didn't you?
We did. It was one of the last-minute things, and they delivered it yesterday, and it'll be ready for everyone to come out and see.
Where are you putting it?
It's going to be in the historical displays inside the buildings across from the grandstand at the fairgrounds.
Okay, well, that is going to be a good one. I'm looking forward to that.
We are, too. It looks to be a fabulous display. It's, prologue to his presidency, and they have panels from when he was right on the 8th Judicial Circuit all the way through to when he became president.
That is so wonderful.
We want to remind the listeners that the Rail Splitter starts this weekend. What is the kickoff activity?
The kickoff activity is Friday night out at the Rec Center. They have their Civil War ball from 7 to 10, and then they'll have a ribbon cut at 10 a.m. on Saturday at the fairgrounds, and they'll go from there. And they've got tons of new stuff. Some college teams coming in to do some forestry competitions will be there for the weekend. That's a new thing, and they also have a sign and dine booth that will be out there for sign language.
Well, I think that college competition is, as you suggest, it's new, and I think it should be very, very interesting to see these young persons. And it's kind of interesting that at the college age, you have folks that are interested in that type of activity.
Definitely. I think you're exactly right. We have colleges coming, they're all from out of state, and they do all sorts of, those bucksaw cutting and rope climbing and just really lots of interesting competitions.
And how about the sign and dine? When I first heard that, I was kind of at a loss for figuring it out. Would you explain that, please?
Sign and Dine is a group in Lincoln that was started by Nancy Vanoy and John Sutton, who are both volunteers with Rail Splitter. And it is just a big push for sign language awareness. And they, are teaching each other, and they'll teach people to who want to learn sign language. They go from restaurant to restaurant, and they do their whole meal and all their ordering with sign language. It's just a big awareness group, and they've really they've grown, and they started 2 years ago, and so this will be the first year that they'll be sitting out at Rail Splitter and will offer sign language interpretation as they go through the events.
That's an interesting thing you mentioned that. Last week I had my great-granddaughter for a little ride out to Madigan Park, and while she sat there in the little playground, I sat there and watched, and there was a sign depicting the various sign languages that are used, and she was quite aware of that. And
It is, the youth are really getting involved in sign language. I know a lot of the schools incorporate just, learning some of the basics. And the Sign and Dine, they tell me they have lots of people that keep coming. So I think that'll be a great addition. They're on Sunday. They have their morning service, and it will be signed as well. So.
Well, Judy, can you resurrect your gown, and we will go to the ball? I don't think the dry cleaners are through with my uniform yet.
I think you should.
They didn't have dry cleaning when I hung that uniform up. Well, we appreciate your call very, very much.
Hey, no problem.
We appreciate the update, and if anybody has any questions, they can get in touch with do you have a phone number to give us?
Yes, they can call the tourism office at 732-8687. Glad to talk to you this morning.
Thank you very much. Have a decent day.
You too.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Well, that's neat. There again, a bunch of people gathering together to get something done, something special for the community.
I think that David Davis exhibit is going to be very interesting.
Very definitely, yeah.
And it sounds like it's pretty extensive.
Extensive.
Yeah, not expensive. Extensive.
I see.
With a T.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Put a T in it.
Okay. Stuff it. Well, we were also talking about some of the things that have been going on in the past, and down at Elkhart, up on the hill. You and I were privileged to attend a very nice affair. Bob and Lynn Meal were very gracious in opening up their home down there. Not his home yet. It's going to be very soon. They had a nice fair down there, Judith. It was a nice
it was
thing.
very nice.
Folks really worked hard.
And Friday night they talked about the building of Route 66 around Elkhart, how that all took place, and that barbershop quartet.
They were good.
They were really fun. The songs they sang were songs I recognized, and songs to which you knew the lyrics and could understand them as they were sung, as opposed to today where you have no idea what they're singing, and you should say thank you God for that.
Yes, I was going to say be grateful that you don't understand what they're saying. And speaking of being grateful and the soapbox business, once in a while we have to do that. I saw in this morning's paper, Jim, and listeners, where the White Castle restaurant firm is being sued by some dude over in Ohio because the booth was too small.
I saw that.
Hello?
Isn't that the berries? You know, that almost rivals suing Mac and Don's Supper Club out there because their coffee was hot. Now, what would you say if they served only cold coffee?
You know, lawyers who take that kind of stuff certainly do not serve their profession very well.
No.
There's some magnificent, some great lawyers out here, day in and day out in their practice, working hard and very professional. And you get some dude like this comes along and it just puts a little brass on the top of it, you know.
Yeah, it's
okay.
Good cause for jokes.
Now, also 911 last Sunday, churches all around the community, and as I mentioned a while ago, a lot of communities like Mount Pulaski gathered together in a very solemn remembrance of that event of 10 years ago. I suppose most of us that are in the listening area watched some of it on TV. The one on Saturday afternoon commemorating the Shanksville, Pennsylvania site, I thought was particularly poignant. Not something that we will never forget. And as a matter of fact, did you hear me ring the bell 40 times?
Yes.
And you knew right away what I was doing.
Not so much.
Gene was calling me out of the yard again.
You explain it now then. Don't just say you did it. Say why.
We got a big dinner bill that came in from Burtonview, you know, from years and years and years back. I'm on that, and we don't use it very often, but I decided that I should go out there. So at 11 o'clock last Sunday morning, I rang it 40 times for the Shanksville, Pennsylvania people. My own private ceremony.
Well, but I think that's nice. You know, those people, boy, I'm sure that they knew that the end result was going to be the same, whether they sat there or whether they did something. But by George, they didn't just sit there. They got up and did something and saved possibly hundreds of lives.
Now, you had something you wanted to discuss.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is from Illinois Central Canadian National Crossing work. They've got a project that did begin on the 6th, and that was Illinois Route 10. And then on Kickapoo Street from the 12th through the 16th, so it started Monday. That's the crossing that they're fixing. And then you people who use Nicholson Road will notice beginning on the 19th and running through the 23rd, they're going to fix that crossing. So that's 3 Lincoln crossings that will be the better for their work. And there are some other crossings that could use some attention too, but I suppose once again money comes into play, huh?
Well, yeah, of course, Union Pacific with their new road bed that they've been laying, I wonder where they are. They must be surely above Dwight now with the laying of the new rails and the new trackage and the new balance. Well,
and I understand that if you take a train trip north, you will notice that it's smoother. I really had somebody tell me that right to my face. So.
Well, I did notice usually you could see the freight cars go through and you'd see the rails bounce up and down. That doesn't happen
give.
now. No, exactly.
No more give.
Well, I uncovered some quotes that I thought might be worthwhile, Judith K. 4 things you cannot recover. The stone after it is thrown, the word after it is said, that's important, the occasion after it's missed, and the time after it is gone.
Yeah, more's the pity.
Is that a little profound for you this morning?
It is. And many is the time that I've said some words that can't be called back. That's the trouble with words. Once they're said, they're just right out there.
I don't think you're very unique in that regard. There's plenty of others that have done the same thing. Go right ahead. You have your little sheet there that you're working with.
Oh, I just thought these were kind of clever, and these are from Bill's friend Lois Harvey, and I like to think she's my friend too.
Well,
okay?
I think she is. She said great things about it. She watches this program, by the way, on Facebook. If you tune to WLCN online, Jim has these programs, has the sports program on, and the Viewpoint, and a lot of people will click on that, but if they click on the Facebook part, that shows you how many are seeing it as opposed to just clicking on Viewpoint. I discovered that. Yeah, well, now every day you learn something. Anyway, so Lois does watch this, and so good morning, Mrs. Harvey. How are you this morning?
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
This one I think might be appropriate for all of our representatives in Washington, D.C. You don't have to win every argument. Agree to disagree. And further for Washington, D.C., I certainly hope they're watching, cry with someone. It's more healing than crying alone.
There's that to be said.
Yeah. But don't you think that they have to learn that they have to do a little bit of compromising out there?
I haven't seen much movement in that regard. I don't care which party it is. They just seem to be so, as the old expression, sot in their ways. And at some point in time, somebody has to get some sense in their head and sit down and realize what's good for the country, not the party. I don't see much of that going on by either party.
Well, but now I think you can carry that one step further. It's not necessarily even the party. It's me, myself, and I, and my election. I think that's really the biggest issue.
Exactly. What happens when we send somebody to Washington is the first thing they do when they hit their desk is hit the motion button to start the wheels for getting reelected.
I know, yeah. Well, especially in the House out there, because it's a 2-year term. So really, you spend the bulk of that 2 years pushing for 2 more.
And just because there's
Which
a
is maybe a
legislature
blessing.
doesn't mean, when we send people down to Springfield or out to Washington to be in the legislature, that doesn't mean we have to start writing new laws to start legislating. Maybe we ought to start examining some of the laws we have on the books and fine-tuning them or rescinding them.
Where I've heard them has been on the radio every time. But every once in a while you'll hear some archaic law from one of the 50 states that they enacted in the 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
And one that I can recall that I thought was absolutely hilarious. Do you know how Sundays came about? I don't mean Sunday, I mean DAE. You know how they came about? In northeastern states, there was a law for some reason against selling ice cream cones on Sunday. So some smarty, and there always historically has been somebody who can figure a way to get around it, said, aha, we'll make Sundays for Sunday. So we just put the ice cream in a dish, and presto changeo, you aren't breaking the law by selling ice cream cones.
So you had Sundays.
So you have Sundays.
Well, seems to have worked.
Now, isn't
well.
that the berries?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And I've heard others, too, that have been just as big a waste of time as passing a law against ice cream cones on Sunday.
Well, I really feel very strongly that there's a lot of, everybody knows with your common sense, there's a lot of stupid legislation out there that's still on the books that they ought to repeal. Probably won't see much of that in my lifetime, whatever's left. Go ahead with some more of those little cuties that you have there.
Oh, well, when it comes to going after what you love in life, don't take no for an answer. Now we, of course, hark back to page 1 where it says that you don't have to win every argument, agree to disagree. So there you are. You have both sides of the argument. Once again, I've carried on a whole conversation with myself, and I've argued both sides of the point, which is really my strong suit.
And that's why you own 51% of Viewpoint.
Oh, well. Get rid of anything that isn't useful, beautiful, or joyful. But if it's just a tad useful, beautiful, or joyful, you could take it to the pink shutter. That last part was an editorial.
I was going to say, did you editorialize just a touch on
just
that?
Just a touch. That's the department I work with.
Well, probably it's time for most of us, particularly some in my age group, that we ought to be kind of downsizing, getting rid of a few things,
It really.
And that's what I'm in the process of doing now. Speaking of that, I decided to pick up a book the other day, Bennett Cerf, raconteur.
There's a name from the past.
Author. Yeah. Well, I've had this book for a long time, and it's a compilation of short stories. And if you'll recall, no, you're too young, Jim. But during the Second War...
See, he knows he was on What's My Line. Don't you, Jim? He's not just another pretty face.
Well, I know he isn't that. But during the Second War, we had a submarine surface off the coast of Africa, very close, and they'd how do I want to say it? And anyway, they put a body of an American or an Englishman in the water, and to that body they had strapped in watertight packet plans for the war and so forth, and it was primarily designed. It was designed, not primarily, it was designed to throw the Germans off as to what our plans were. And in any event, it was a well-known episode. And in the process of reading this story, some German nobleman, or English nobleman, I beg your pardon, wrote a story about that very episode. And it was a very interesting reading about how this fella died and had no family. And the doctor just happened to mention it to somebody who's in MI1 or whatever it is, the English spy operation. And so they very surreptitiously took this body away, and a few days later it was found on the coast in Africa. And with these plans, which were designed to show that we were going to do something which we weren't.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting reading the way the guy wrote that story.
I'm sure it was. I maybe have to borrow that book.
You may
Okay.
you may have it. I'm downsizing.
Oh, are you downsizing? Okay, well, now listen to this then. While you're at it, burn the candles, use the nice sheets, wear the fancy lingerie. Don't save it for a special occasion. Today is special. See, that's one thing I'm guilty of, one of several. I save things. Are you a saver?
Unfortunately. And not now. In the past. Yeah.
But you kicked the habit?
Yes, I've kicked the habit. That's exactly. I'm in withdrawal.
Are you? You know, I really think that that's peculiar, especially to the male of the species. I think that men are more apt to get emotionally involved with a suit that they wore in 1965 that they can't part with. So it's still in the closet, dusty on the shoulders, but it's there, by George. And don't you dare take it out of there. Now, why do you do that?
No, I'm not. I can't be accused of that. Well, I can be accused of keeping some things too long, but boy, we're weeding them out pretty fast now. And if I get rid of it, I don't replace it with something different, something new.
Well, you're the same guy who told me you bought shingles with a 20-year guarantee. You figured that'd serve you. I love that.
If I'm buying shingles now, I get a 5-year guarantee on these shingles. Well, we've come to the end of Viewpoint. Well, I'd like to close with, I'm picking on old Tom Jefferson here recently because he had such magnificent quotes. So, reminding you that Sunday morning, by the way, we're going to have a tribute to the month of September on the Sunday morning swing.
Yes.
0900 hours. Old Tom Jefferson said, "I am not a friend to a very energetic government. It is always oppressive." That's a little bit appropriate today. Thank you for Viewpoint.